Hey, what up? Welcome to the Dope Souls Collective podcast, where dope souls can vibe, connect, heal, and grow because dope souls go through real shit. This podcast was created to nurture, support, and educate survivors and growth-oriented people. And without further ado, I give you your host. She's a transformational life coach, a mental health coach with a master's of psychology. She's also a couples and healthy sexuality coach. And I can't forget to mention she's my dope-ass friend. This is Romany Malco presenting to you the host and founder of the Dope Souls Collective podcast, the one and only Trisheana Hunter.
So anyway, my friend, my very good friend, we're just gonna vibe. You know, I'm not asking no specific question. Look, this is me and my blank sheet of questions.
All good. I'm excited. I'm just like, I'm happy that we actually get to talk because, as you know, I follow most of your story, starting on LMT and then eventually to the gram because I was just unable to keep up with LMT. I just completely unable. Just, you know, especially having a child now and all that is impossible. I've been like, I have so many dreams for LMT and so many limited resources, honestly, that I kind of had to choose. I had LMT, I had Tijuana Jackson, I was like, and I had Romany Malco's career. And I was like, damn, this is not sustainable. And I spent years, even a lot of this year, trying to like scale my business. And had the revelation that, oh, wow, the reason I'm unsuccessful in scaling my business is because I haven't scaled my life. And so in figuring out what scaling my life meant to me, I was able to then like, okay, just be honest with myself about what I was able to sustain and narrow it down to those things. And so now when I catch your story and understand what you're doing and what's going on in your life, is usually through the gram, you know, and you might see me commenting on there or liking once in a while or just messaging you every now and then. But, you know, my involvement is so limited that it's actually really cool that we actually get to sit down and talk.
It's been a long time coming. You know, Life Management Tribe, we did that thing and it had its dynamics. But in candidness, you had some weirdos.
Yeah.
You and I have been very fortunate to be able to say, you're my friend.
Thank you. I feel the same way.
You went from that. So true story, like the first thing I ever saw you in was Baby Mama. I never got into 40-year-old virgin. Mm-hmm. And at my house, like you're the guy that goes, there go my baby mama, you know, like you're that guy. But then as I started to get to know you through LMT, like you've got some deep stuff. Like I followed you on Facebook and all these different things. And I remember when you were like, yo, I'm not messing with social media no more. If y'all want to see me, you're going to find me over there. But then you had some weirdos that found you over there.
Yeah.
And then I was like, yeah, I'm sick. I'm going to go be sick over here. And I'm going to get him on the ground. And
yeah,
I'm not messing with Romanys stalkers. I'm good. And it did become overwhelming, even for me sharing my journey over there.
Yeah, I understand.
People tend to want a piece of you. Like I only can imagine it on the scale of sharing my journey, my testimony, what I'm going through. And people are like, oh my gosh, you're so strong. It's the Matrix. You know, I'm going to zoom in on you. And yeah.
I mean, imagine. I think a lot of people just, you know, they interpret someone dealing with adversity. They automatically just kind of compartmentalize and say, okay, this is struggle. And then they want to trauma bond with you. They want to struggle bond with you. You know what I mean? They don't realize that you're really on a mission. You know what I mean? These are all just chapters in the process of you getting to where you want to get to. But for a lot of people, that's where they want to be. They don't realize that's where they want to be, but it's what they identify with. It's a big part of their identity. And we just unfortunately had a lot of people, or quite a few people, who came through, you know, with that mindset. And so they tried to associate people sharing their truths with basically being married to, or just we're kindred spirits because of struggle. Oh no, actually, people here actually building through and working through and moving on. We're just sharing this to give you an insight. Yeah. So that was unfortunate.
You know, it was unfortunate, but it more than served a purpose. It's why you and I are friends. It's why I know Celeste.
Right.
It's why I know Rory and go see her in Georgia. It's brought so many people together and created so many relationships. But I can't imagine how you do all the things that you do on a grander scale. I know we were chatting before this. You got the dad hat now, which is the most amazing hat to see you in.
Thank you.
You've got the Romany Malco career. You've got Tijuana Jackson and all the projects you're working on. Like, just talk to me. Who are you on it? Like, who do people need to know you are?
Well, you know, I've always liked to just have a very hard and definitive line. I think it's one of the reasons I left Hollywood, moved to New York, and eventually ended up in Puerto Rico. Just basically kept trying to find ways to live outside of the U.S. Part of it is because of just the dynamics of the U.S. don't really work for my desired lifestyle. But I just like a definitive line between work and my personal life. And so I've just always kind of said my work will speak for me in the industry, and then my personal life is mine. And, you know, I've been a stepdad for 7 years. And from day one, you know, my lady was like, I don't want my kids on social media. You know, I don't want them getting peer pressure or being, befriended because of the fact that they have a father who's on TV, you know, that kind of thing. And that's perfect for me because I don't like sharing too much of my personal life. Like even my nieces, once my niece turned, like, I remember it was her second birthday, I took this one picture, posted on the internet, the last picture I ever put her on the internet, you know. I was like, she's starting to get to the point people are going to be able to recognize her. And not that I'm any big deal or anything like that, but, you know, it's that, you know, people, you know, they live in smaller towns, they live in Florida and Texas and whatnot. And just, you know, they interpret this lifestyle differently. So for me and who I am, to answer your question, I'm really just a dude who loves entertaining, who loves learning, and who loves teaching what he learns. And so I do that through my Tijuana Jackson thing, which is basically a vehicle that allows me to like learn, put into practice, and share what I learned. And a lot of times in the videos, I'm showing you how I'm putting it into practice. You know, if I'm buying a property off of an auction, even I'm showing you what I'm going through in the process of buying the property on the auction as Tijuana Jackson. And it allows me to kind of like do two things that I really love, which is three things, which is learn, teach, and make people laugh. Things have just gotten a bit out of hand, you know, because I have a lot going on. And I just had to, like I said, scale my life. I had to figure out a way to scale my life. That's why I couldn't successfully scale my business. And scaling my life meant for me really figuring out what my priorities were there, where I wanted to spend and invest more time, how I wanted to go about it, which helped me create borders that I never had before. It helped me help my lady kind of clarify and better define her role in our relationship, help me better define my role in our relationship, help us understand what we need from each other. And it has given me license to now do Tijuana Jackson, you know, solely. So it's like a lot of people from LMT have actually come over to Tijuana Jackson, but it's a very raw, real platform where people are talking about success on a holistic level. And anyway, that's it. If I could, I'd probably, you know, I know there's a lot of Christians out there, so you'll probably appreciate that I've devoted my life to Tijuana Jackson. You know, that's my dude. that's what I plan to do when this acting stuff is all over. That's what I plan to do every break I get from acting, every break I get from writing and directing. And if you don't know what Tijuana Jackson is, it's basically me playing an ex-convict turned motivational speaker, sharing a very skewed perspective on life. I'm trying to teach people how to liberate themselves. I play this character who's trying to teach people how to liberate themselves, but he's the most institutionalized person you've ever seen. And the reason I find that funny, that irony, is because most of us are really preaching what we most need to learn. And I think that we like to get our information packaged in these lily white boxes, and then that somehow makes it valid. But the reality of it is that information is wherever the fuck you find it. And because of the fact that a person isn't packaged or doesn't present themselves in the way that we've been conditioned to receive information, we disregard it, we discredit it. And so I'm on a mission to help amplify legitimate voices who've really been through it. Because most of my friends, really, my closest friends and the people that I, take real advice from, the people that I look at and admire the most, have been through rock bottom multiple times, sometimes on their own account, you know what I mean? Sometimes they just had unfortunate experiences that kind of derailed their lives, that was beyond their control. But it's just the way they climbed out of those holes and the knowledge they gained in the process and how they share that at least make them very valuable to me. And so TJ kind of represents that life in a comedic way.
Now, I know a lot of people don't know you like I do. Mm-hmm. And don't know that you're not even from the States, right? You're from somewhere.
I was born in New York, but my family's Trinidadian. So I went to school off and on in Trinidad and Tobago. If you don't know what Trinidad and Tobago is, it's like 8 miles off the coast of Venezuela in the Caribbean, right? I think that Guyana might be the only place that's closer to South America than Trinidad of the Caribbean. Long and short of it is, my dad is of Venezuelan descent, born in Trinidad and Tobago. My mother is of West African descent, born in Trinidad and Tobago. They met in Brooklyn, had me, and then they were young, 22, 23 years old. So I would live with my grandparents in Trinidad, live with my parents in the States, go back and forth, went to school in Trinidad, that kind of thing.
Okay, so you got a deep background. It's something we've talked about quite a bit. And going back to Tijuana Jackson, I pre-ordered the movie the minute it came out. I ordered it on Apple and Amazon just in case. And was really excited to see that it's now on, is it Hulu? I think it was, I just saw it on.
I don't know what it's on. It's on everything now. It's on Stars.
Yeah, I just saw it recently. And, you advertised it. We talked about it being really comical. I didn't find it funny.
Oh, you didn't find it funny?
I didn't find it funny because it was, I see where you were bringing the humor to it, right? But it was so real to so much that's going on that I was like, yo, this isn't funny. This is a damn tragedy. There was a scene in the kitchen. Oh my gosh, I can't. It was something really raw and real related to his mother and her eating or something.
Yeah.
That I felt like in my core.
Like her taking her medication, getting sick and taking her medication before she eats. Yeah.
I was like, yo, this shit ain't funny. This is real shit. Like, yo. But no, like this is real life for a lot of people in our neighborhoods every day, taking care of grandmama, you know what I'm saying? Lack of resources. And I think in everyday families, we got those people in our families like, yo, I left mom in your hands. And this is what the hell I come home to. I don't even live here. You're right here. What do you mean mom didn't get her meds? What do you mean grandma didn't get this? What do you mean she didn't get to the doctor's appointment? Or you didn't stop to make sure that in the nursing home she was getting showered? What are you talking about? So when I was watching some of those scenes, I was remembering things that I had gone through with my own grandmother and her own care and with her own children. I live several hours away. You guys live 20 minutes away. And you didn't stop to make sure my grandmother got a shower? I don't understand that. So when I was watching that, I was like, yeah, nah, man, this ain't funny.
Yeah.
It's good, but I'm not laughing. This is real shit.
It's real shit. And, I have a very specific brand. When I'm doing work for ABC, I'm doing work for these studios, I do, I sign on to do more lighthearted PG-13 stuff. But when I'm doing work for me, I'm trying to humanize us. And things like what you just talked about that you see all throughout the movie are very universal. Anybody, any country, anywhere. I've had people beg me, bring your movie to France, please. The festivals have been like, oh God, I'm telling you right now, this movie been hitting France. You got to, I'm telling you, we would love this in Croatia. It's universal. And that's my brand. I take real situations because my life, which was comprised of real situations, and I think one of the ways that I ended up finding or stumbling into any level of happiness or any degree of happiness was being able to make light, being able to find humor amidst tragedy. And so, like you said, you didn't get into the 40-year-old virgin. My audience, my predominant audience got into the 40-year-old virgin. You get what I'm saying?
Because when I tell people, like, I'm like, yeah, my friend, I have no clue who that is. I'm a 40-year-old virgin. They're like, yeah.
Yeah.
I have never seen that whole movie. In fact, the only thing I know about that movie was a skit that came out right after the election, where it was like, it was like something to do with Trump. And it was some part of the skit where it was like, this is us with.
Yeah.
I can't even remember what it was, but it was on Instagram.
So I think it's like me and Kevin Hart arguing and Shelley Malil, who ended up in prison, coming out. But yeah, I know the tone of comedy that my audience responds to. I know how to mix that into Tijuana Jackson along with the messages that I'm trying to get across and do it in a way that's so sly that no one's really thinking about canceling me. They don't even pick it up. The jargon, it's so cryptic. People literally, if you read the comments on Amazon, the reviews on Amazon, people are like, get a refresher course on slang before you try to decipher this movie, because there's just a lot of prison terminology and stuff. And so, that's the goal, is to continue to do exactly that. Project after project after project. It's my brand. It ain't for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Not really building it for everybody. But what I love is gradually it's finding its audience. It's growing gradually. It's going bigger and bigger. And the more consistent I am, the bigger it gets.
And I think one thing you said, man, you said, yo, I'm not a big deal. No, you're a big fucking deal.
Thank you.
You are the most humble person, most down to earth, and most caring individual.
Thank you.
Even as a big deal, but no, you're a big deal. You've done some major films. You've done some major work. You've had some real great success on the screen with the sitcoms and things that you've done. So yeah, you're a big deal, but you're still making big impact and making mental health a focus for everybody. Always have. TJ been doing it. You can go back when that whole little while. Thank you very much. And I know mental health, they're talking about mental health right now is trendy. But if you go, when Wallow came for me and I decided that I was going to check Gilly and Wallow as TJ and as Romany, people started going back into my catalog that's 10 years old with me talking about prioritizing mental health and developing healthier psychological dispositions, how food plays into that, how the choices we make on a day-to-day basis gradually accumulate into these large messes that will chip away at our self-esteem and put us in positions of feeling deprived, put us in situations of feeling depressed, despondent. I was talking about that 10, 11 years ago on YouTube. And so, yeah, I mean, I thank you. The people who know, you know what I mean? And so when I say I'm not a big deal, I just mean in the sense that there are much bigger celebrities out there. But I will say this, I have noticed this, is that there aren't very many. I remember when Oprah was trying to do a show called Black Men in Hollywood, she called and she was like, her team was like, you're the only person that we could find of this era who started mainstream and then crossed over to urban rather than the other way around. And so, Oprah would like to have you to discuss your experience and to keep it real. That's the truth. I was told that I wasn't Black enough by Black Hollywood or Black casting agents, I should say, when I first started in the game.
And it was a guy named James Lopez, who I knew from music because he worked at Atlantic Records. He did marketing at Atlantic Records. It was James Lopez, who was now working as the president of Will Packer's company. And he was like, Romany Malco in the role for Think Like a Man. I'm telling you right now, it'd be a good call. And they were like, Romany Malco, who is that? They didn't even know who the hell Romany Malco was, like, for real. And so what I realized was Hollywood's very divided. And so what you have is you have Black audiences that watch predominantly Black content. And then you have your Caucasian audiences that watch predominantly Caucasian content. And then you have a group of people who kind of like mix it up. You have the Latin audience, who is a bit diverse in what they relate.
Extremely underrepresented.
Underrepresented. And so
the Black audience, we're coming up, but I feel like the Latin American audience or Latin audience overall is still.
Oh, big time. And so that's what I'm saying. They're a bit more tolerant. And so they watch a little bit of everything. And then you have, you have your Asian audience and so forth and so on, who's also extremely underrepresented, East Indian audience. And what I found is I had a number one movie in the country. And that week I went to a beer fest in New York. And I had white folks coming up to me being like, dude, I loved you in the 40-Year-Old Virgin. Why did you stop acting? Meanwhile, at the exact same time, Think Like a Man was number one in the country.
But it was like segregation.
That's it, exactly. Martin Luther King said he believes that, it's a Sunday like church, Sunday mornings when people in church, probably the most segregated hours of hour in America. And I think that I personally think that movie night might be the second most segregated hour in America because, I have personally experienced it. Meanwhile, check this out. Here, I got more drama for you. So when Think Like a Man came out, we did the premiere and all that. I had so many people coming up to me at the premiere being like, bro, we don't know where you came from. Want to shake your hand and want to let you know this is a breakout role for you. You going to get work. You about to start getting work. I don't know where you came from, but you about to start getting work. You do stand up? Swear. Had no clue of none of my previous work. You like Baby Mama. Some people like Blades of Glory. Some people like Weeds. Some people like 40-Year-Old Virgin. No clue.
I've never seen Weeds. Baby Mama, though, Black audience, white audience, I don't care. That movie's funny.
Oh, them girls are hilarious. But the point is, I was just making the point that it's pretty divided. And so, so because of that, I have staunch supporters, Caucasian staunch supporters, and because of the way that what's the word? Ancillary, just the way that the market is now, I'm constantly breeding new fans. New college kids are seeing 40-Year-Old Virgin. New college kids are seeing Think Like a Man. Good content sustained. It lasts the test of time. But I am building them in two different worlds. Mm-hmm. And so as a result of that, I end up being a lot more recognizable a lot of times. And I'm not boasting about it, but it just happens because, a lot more recognizable than people that you would think are much bigger stars, And it's because they are much bigger stars to a specific demographic. I happen to have been blessed to be able to entertain two very predominant audiences. And so when we're doing Think Like a Man, I'd be walking around with the publicist. She'd be like, damn, Ron, I don't know what it is. I walk around with all the cast Think Like a Man. When I walk around with you, the people, I don't even understand the languages people be speaking when they approach you, So I feel as though because of the way that my orientation into the industry, I have a very universal audience, very diverse and universal audience. And so it might not appear that way when you look at A-list actors, but, it definitely translates in the metrics when people are trying to hire me for gigs and whatnot. And I think at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to.
Because people they see you as the comedian. And I'm gonna be really honest with you now. And I hate that I don't like doing comparisons, but like, for example, I really like you as a comedian in certain movies.
Mm-hmm.
But then I like you. I can only watch you in dramas, like certain movies, like because it makes me sad to see you sad. Like I can't. A Million Little Things.
That's a true friend right there. It's a true friend.
4 episodes in on A Million Little Things, I was like, I can't. Nope, because then I'm gonna be depressed. I'm gonna know he's fine,
mm-hmm.
but I don't know if it's just your skill set. But I'm like, no, seeing him like that, I'm good. And I mean, I literally never finished that series. I was like, I'm done.
Wow, thank you.
And then you had a Christmas movie that did not get enough play to me. It did not get advertised enough on Netflix that we watched when it came out. And it was incredible. Thank
you. Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, me and the girls really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a wholesome family movie for sure.
Yeah, what is the name of it? Because I can't remember.
It's called Holiday Rush.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called. Yeah.
I think that's probably one of my favorite of your films, even though there's some parts in it that were sad because I don't like to see you sad.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I can't watch A Million Little Things. I can't watch anything where you're miserable.
Yeah, A Million Little Things is a heavy show. And, the only reason I even took the job is because, I know the writer, I know the creator, but also I really like the idea of it was just right in line with what I've been doing with Tijuana Jackson, just a different way, a different format, a different audience. And, for me to be a brother, playing a brother who's dealing with depression, I was like, I don't trust this in anyone's hands. Like I literally was like, God, I just don't trust people to do right by this. You know what I mean? Because you could create really unfortunate stigmas if you're not thinking holistically when you play a role like this. And so I was kind of taking the job to protect the role, Yeah. So thank you.
I hope that there's more brothers that are watching that though, because I know from LMT and from knowing you personally that depression and mental health and all those things are things that are very dear to you and that you talk about openly. There was a post you did on Instagram very recently about like not really finding yourself whole and purposeful until your son was born. So I know that you've got some experiences with mental health. We haven't talked about exactly what they are in our friendship. You don't have to talk about it here if that's not something you want to talk about. But I hope that there are more Black men that are seeing a million little things going, oh, shit, like it's not just me. Because I know for a fact there's not safe spaces.
Yo, I saw Joe Budden. He posted something. He was like, yo, 10 minutes in, people kept telling me to watch, A Million Little Things. 10 minutes in, I got to hit the pause button.
Yeah, real talk.
Yeah. So I think that I think that the Black audience is finding it. I think that it's just we have to get to a point of being comfortable with vulnerability. As for myself, honestly, man, I didn't understand depression, because I'm not someone who had really ever dealt with, I'm not genetically predisposed to depression. I may have had a period of like 2 years after my music career ended where I was kind of like having a pity party with myself. But when I started learning about depression, I've never dealt with that. And I was one of those people who genuinely believed it was something you could snap out of when I was younger. And as I started learning more about it, reading about it and learning more about it, even through Tijuana Jackson, started realizing, wow, I grew up around a lot of people who dealt with, or was struggling with, and still are struggling with depression, and, I just kind of just have the space in my heart and realize that that's a wall that they have to climb almost every morning, sometimes for years, and these are people that meant a lot to me or mean a lot to me. And so it was just kind of miraculous that A Million Little Things came around. I kept saying no for 2 years. I was like, I'm not doing that show. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing network TV, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, man, I ended up reading it and being like, God, I would hate to see this on TV and it be misrepresented, because it's misrepresenting all my people too. I just grew up around a lot of dysfunction, and I grew up around people who tried to use drugs and whatnot as a means of escaping what they were experiencing with depression, what they were experiencing in their lives, not being able to, for lack of a better term, not being able to metabolize their dysfunction in a healthy way, And I just want to make sure that before I leave the planet, that I've left enough work.
Bringing back to LMT for a moment, that gave me such a comfortable space to be vulnerable and share my journey. And now as a life coach, like a lot of people don't realize that the life coach that I am now came from being able to be me because of you through LMT.
Oh, so thank you. That's a big compliment. And I love hearing all of this. Thank you.
But now that I am that life coach, I find myself back in a box. Like, nope, I can't say that I have struggled with depression, or sometimes still do, or still struggle with anxiety and PTSD. It's supposed to be like, oh, I'm on the other side of it. Everything's fine. It never comes back. It's, you're good. And
that's what. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You just can't, like, once you cross over and you're like, okay, I'm the life coach, I'm the motivational speaker, I'm the positive podcast that you listen to, you're not allowed to have a bad day after that, at least not publicly.
Mm-hmm.
You can cry yourself to sleep at night, you can be depressed, you can have all these things, but publicly you can't have that. You can tell the story that whole time, like I did with LMT every single day. The minute that I crossed over, it was no longer something that I could go, oh, you know what? Today was shit.
Right.
It was absolute shit.
Okay, I'm going to keep it a buck. One, that's the reason I do Tijuana Jackson right there, because we shouldn't be held in a box. People are conditioned. We're conditioned to believe that it has to be packaged a certain way. And some people are conditioned to believe that it has to come a certain way. We have a joke sometimes that we crack where we'll be explaining something about maybe how you deal with babies and how babies respond to certain treatment. And be like, oh, somebody, but oh, really? Is that true? But hold up. Let me get a white person to say it. Pull up the section in the audio book, play it for you. I was like, it's legit now, huh? It's a joke that we crack, but it's how we've been conditioned to receive information. And because of that, we discredit ourselves. So you go to some countries, and I've lived all over the world, and you go to some countries and people have been conditioned to interpret and receive information in a particular way. The problem with that is that within the colonialism and everything else, they've been conditioned to also think poorly of their own people. And so with that, what ends up happening is the information is only valid if it comes through a certain, through a certain resource, and if it looks a certain way.
With a certain delivery.
And TJ's like, nah, that's not true. And that's what I do. That's if you want to look at Tijuana Jackson, just go to YouTube and look up Tijuana Jackson. It'll change your life. And there's 10 years of content there. Believe me, it's worth it. My point being that me just keeping it real with you, I don't think you should fall into that trap. I don't know if you know who Mel Brooks is. She's also a life coach. And she is very open and vocal about her shitty days. Now, if I come to you, I'm a client of yours, right? And I'm coming to you for an hour of your time or an hour and a half of your time, or, I buy a package where I've got, 10 hours over the course of 3 weeks. Maybe in those sessions, I don't want to hear about your shitty day. But I do think that, in my opinion, certain platforms lend to you sharing ups and downs. It just keeping it real, you know, it's just the one thing is the client that you, at least from what I'm observing, even with like Mel Brooks, is that it's hard. If you don't have the tools, it's probably, we have a saying, you shouldn't write it until you've moved through it. So what that means is like a lot of people are trying to write about their life, but they're still looking at their life from the inside out.
Absolutely. And that's actually the reason why Moving Mountains podcast, which was like really modest and really short-lived. It was really weird. I had this epiphany. I woke up the other day and I'm like, yeah, I know it's done. 2022 Dope Soul Collective, because, you know, the Moving Mountains coaching podcast, you're in that box. It's got to end on a good note. Mm-hmm. And, you know, dope souls go through real shit. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't all get to this place where we've achieved things or we have things, whether we're talking about acting or coaching or whatever, without going through shit.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. You know, look, here's the technique that I use with TJ. My problem with TJ is I'm just inconsistent because my Hollywood job is so damn demanding. But there's no question in my mind, when I have time, I'll blow that up. And what I've learned with TJ is TJ is all about my life. People think it's hilarious, but I really did sleep on the roof of a jail. I really slept on the roof of a jail in the cold. I really, you know.
Oh, pause. You really slept on the roof of a jail. Mm-hmm. You can't just glaze over that because I've only seen the movie.
Oh, okay, right. Okay. So Dope Souls audience, here's how it goes. First of all, welcome to the Dope Souls podcast. My name is Romany Malco. I'm here with Trisheana Hunter, and we out here trying to break down life, the game of life. Am I wrong in saying that?
No, you're right.
Okay, cool. And I do a character called Tijuana Jackson. It's my passion project, my brainchild. And what this character does is he's basically showing you a man working through his dysfunction while trying to help you work through your dysfunction. And so here's like the reason I reference Mel Brooks is because I feel like she does it really good. But the point is that what I do with TJ is I will go through something, but I won't talk about it as I'm going through it. And the reason I won't talk about it as I'm going through it, because I don't see the point. My style is I don't see the point in presenting it if I can't make light of it.
Right.
And sometimes I just need time to figure out what the lesson is, what the message is, and figure out why this journey was necessary for me, or maybe why it was unnecessary for me. And then when the time feels like, okay, this is right, then I pick that fruit and I go, okay, I got to tell this story. And they're my real life stories. You hear me talking about these dysfunctional relationships? You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm going through. It's just that I didn't tell it on the day. And so I would just say that, you know, if you're asking me, or if you know, I would always say you want to share what you've been through, because first of all, stories are the most engaging thing you can offer to any audience. Nothing will retain an audience's attention like a story, period. Tried, tested, you can't top it. And nothing keeps an audience coming back like an enlightened ending. That's just, I'm not making this up. This is the great mythologist Joseph Hunter, when he was breaking down the 15 beats of every story, you know, I say Joseph Hunter, Joseph Campbell, breaking down the 15 beats of every, when, the hero's journey, when he's breaking it all down. It's just the way it is. We live in a capitalist society. People consume marketing all day. Marketing has been broken down to a formula that has conditioned people to receive content in a specific way. But that does not mean we can't be true to ourselves in the process of figuring out the right way to present it to our audience. You get what I'm saying? And that's what Tijuana Jackson is about. And so I would just say, if you're going through something, I personally believe that you have a stronger connection to your audience when you're able to demonstrate the experience and the elixir versus always being stuck in the experience, always being stuck in the adversity. You get what I'm saying? That almost comes off as defeatist. But when you're truthfully, your job is to truthfully be like, I'm going to help you improve. I'm going to help liberate you from your own glass ceilings, your own psychological conditioning, your self-doubt, trauma. It's important to be like, yo, like TJ does. Basically what TJ's saying all day is, hey, homie, you know, old boy that tried to molest you and your family, your uncle. I had that too. And here's what I did. And here's what it did to me. Be aware of these. These are key signs to pay attention to. Oh, by the way, hey, you remember how your mama used to prioritize your other siblings over you? I know what that feels like, Wody. I had that too. And here's how it affected me. And here's how it limited me. And here's how I overcame that shit. Here's how I'm still trying to overcome that shit. That's what TJ's doing all day, every day. And so I personally believe, you know, you're a brilliant person. I can't tell you nothing. But you do have the right, in my opinion, to share your struggles, right? And what you've got out of it.
One thing that you said a moment ago is you said, you know, it comes to an enlightened ending, not a happy ending.
No. I don't play that. As you can see, you saw my movie, as you can see. Yeah.
It doesn't come to a happy ending.
No. That's what marketing and that's what America and all this shit and the Puritan system. That's what they want. But that's not true to life. Sorry.
Oh no.
So you want me to expound on that, or you going to expound on that?
No, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no. I'm just making the point that we're than ever now, you know, thanks to social media and stuff like that, where people are sharing their lives all day. And sometimes the journey is a struggle for 10 weeks. And then week 11, they have a major breakthrough. Sometimes the struggle is 2 years of addiction. And then bam, they have a breakthrough, or bam, they die. But the truth is that people are connecting more with it. It's the reason that all of these programs that were once dominating the airwaves and commanding our attention are obsolete now. It's because people want to connect to things that are real. People want mentors that are real. People are looking for one or two things. They're looking for major escapism, or they're looking for real confirmation that the experience that they're having is real. It's being gaslighted all damn day. And so the enlightened ending provides people with tools. The happy ending provides people with entertainment. Folks need tools. Folks are really struggling. And so that enlightened ending might not be happy, but it's applicable. It's useful. And that's ultimately what I think we're all trying to do here, is pass on something to the next generation that they can actually, or the next person that they can actually put into practice for their betterment, for their children's betterment, for their generation's betterment.
I think that's what's happened to us with social media, you know, because for the longest time, and it was more like when I worked in multi-level marketing and just we'd go to different events, you always had to have a smile on your face. You always had to be happy. Now, granted, you can be in excruciating pain, but don't ever let it show. And I think the social media stance of everything, I don't care which platform you're on, has been about show the best, show the testimony, show everything beautiful and perfect but don't talk about all the hell that it took to get there.
Well, you know, certain platforms. So I think that, you know, clearly Instagram has been like that. And I think Facebook just become a very angry, bitter, segregated. Facebook has basically become America, you know, America Anonymous. They call it Meta. I call it America Anonymous. You know, on YouTube.
There's a lot of different censorships that are going on across platforms.
Without a question. I will just say that on YouTube, I do see a lot of people who are really successful, or there are people who are really successful and not always smiling and really going through it. And sometimes their life just is a mess. but their optimism or their determination to get better, their genuine passion for helping people understand what they're going through, it's made them into big rock stars. And it's just really according to the platform that you're into. And, I think that people confuse Instagram and Facebook for social media platforms. They're not. Those are advertising platforms. They are phenomenal advertising platforms. And the quicker people identify that, the quicker they can capitalize on what those platforms have to offer. I have never had an audience more supportive, keeping it a buck. I've never had an audience more supportive than my YouTube audience. It's the smallest and that's not the smallest, but it's the most potent of audience that I have. It's because you build a different relationship through that platform. And so experiencing multiple platforms, you can kind of figure out what's right for you, and there's the problem that people try to do is, when Gary Vaynerchuk dropped this whole concept about making your pillar content and then taking that and breaking it up and posting those other small pieces on other platforms, what people didn't realize is that maybe at the time it worked, but as the rise of TikTok and, Snapchat, eventually TikTok and Facebook plagiarizing those ideas so that they can incorporate them into Instagram and Facebook, is that and now YouTube having shorts as well, is that you have to create the content specifically for the platform. The lazy concept of just chopping up some stuff you made over here and putting it on there doesn't work. Each platform commands a different address. And you kind of, you have to figure out what that is and honor it. And that's one of the reasons I was telling you in the beginning, I had to really just kind of narrow down what I was willing to do. And I'm not willing to run around and produce content for platforms where the content only has a lifespan of maybe a week, maybe a couple of days.
And then it's filtered through so many different things that what's the point?
Yeah. And then you can't even go on Google and search it later. What's the point? For me, no. I make evergreen content. I know what YouTube is. I know what YouTube is intended for. So either podcasts or YouTube for me, that's where, that's where I play. And then of course my own platform. So I have my own Tijuana Jackson Academy and everything. All roads lead to the Tijuana Jackson Academy. And so my priority is, of these platforms is behemoth is YouTube. And it's paid off. It's the most monetizable of all the platforms I've been on. And but I also understand if I'm going to do Reels, I can't just take something that I made on Facebook and put it on Reels. I actually have to make Reels specific to Reels. If I'm going to do Snapchat, I've got to start it a certain way. I've got it in a certain way. And so, but it's like knowing the content needs to be presented in a certain, like we were talking about, it has to be presented in a certain format. But it don't mean that you got to play into this idea of everything being happy, everything being, hunky-dory and boxed. And no, I don't think that people care about that as much anymore. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't. Honestly, I think that people look at people like that and see a person suffering.
People need permission to be a mess.
And if these platforms don't give you permission, I don't know what does. Some of your biggest YouTubers are a friggin' mess.
It's so funny you say that because I am not the tech girl. Mm-hmm. I don't even like to be on video. Like you are legitimately the first podcast I've ever done via Zoom. And it's because
Thank you.
Because it's you. I want to be able to say like, look, I ain't lying. That's really him.
So you're doing it for the senior citizens. So basically you come on here for the senior citizens.
Man, because I'm not like, I'm not a video person. I don't do selfies. I don't like any of that stuff. And my 11-year-old is better at TikTok that she hijacked from the phone behind my back that I didn't even know she had than I can ever be.
Wow.
Like I just hand the phone to her. Here, fix. let me know what I need to do next. And I leave it alone. I don't like it. If I could, I wouldn't be on social media. But it's like, it's the nature of the beast now. You have to be.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, you know, I don't have the luxury of doing all those platforms. It's just a lot of time. It's a lot of time. And so I'm a firm believer in, I think long term. And when I look at the long term perspective, for instance, I got into this whole beef with Wallow. I never thought in a million years when I was making videos 10, 11 years ago that people would be on YouTube looking at the videos I made 10 or 11 years ago. I never thought I'd still be making money off of those videos. And it really helped me understand something about social media at that point, or helped me understand something about monetizing your content and getting the most value out of it. And it showed me that, it made me realize, man, if I had known that would be the case, I would have taken the videos I made 10 years ago a lot more seriously.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'd have looked at that YouTube channel like a studio.
And now they call it literally the YouTube studio.
Yeah, exactly. And now in retrospect, I'm like, all right, we'll do that now. We'll take care of it now.
Now, one thing we glazed over a few moments ago that I don't know much about, so I really do want you to share it with me.
Okay.
You kind of dropped a second snippet about a music career that I know nothing about, really.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
So I think in 1980, so I started shopping myself to record labels. I was living in Texas and shopping myself to record labels in California. I started doing that, and New York, actually. I started doing that around 1985, 86. I would drive out to California every year, pitch myself to record labels while I was in high school. And even when I joined the military eventually. And while I was in the military, I still shopped myself to record labels and eventually got a deal in 89. And like 1990, I was making a record. And by 91, I think I had a number one rap hit. The song was called Victim of the Ghetto. It came out right around the time of the riots, the LA riots. So every news channel chose to play that song in the background of their report.
And what was the name it was under?
Oh, the group was called College Boys.
Okay. I knew who the College Boys were. I was in high school in the 90s. I remember that track. I had no clue until right now.
Yeah.
Today, that the College Boys was my boy.
Yeah. Yeah, literally. I had a DJ, I had a beatbox, I had a hype man, and myself as the rapper. Facts. And yeah, man, that kind of changed my life, the trajectory of my life for a while. And I got to travel and perform for people and learn about people and learn about life in the United States of America in a way that I might not have seen it before, and developed a stronger empathy than I had ever had doing that. But then I really outgrew it. My music career was over. I wasn't making no hits, and the industry had shifted. There was this new method coming in to of artists being independent artists, ownership, getting a record deal wasn't as big a deal anymore. And guys like Master P and stuff like that were starting to really change the dynamic. Too Short was already doing it. And so, and things were getting hard and gangsta, and it just wasn't really authentic to me. And so, I kind of observed that, took my lumps with it and used it to educate me in how I would move forward in life. And I just started handling business differently. And it has helped me dramatically. I didn't go straight from music to acting, but, I toured with all the greats. I toured with, Tribe Called Quest, Naughty by Nature, all the old school greats. I did shows with all of them, Run DMC had their run before I had come out. I grew up watching Run DMC. By the time I was a hit, Run DMC wasn't really a big deal anymore, But they're a big deal to me, and they always will be. But just in regards to what the general population was feeling, and so we had our little moment These tours with DJ Quick, Too Short. They're just freaking hilarious. It's a great time in life. What can I say? Being young dude on the road. It's hilarious. It's just freaking hilarious.
Can you imagine? Because you're hilarious now.
Thank you. Yeah, it was pretty funny. I honestly, though, it started, the challenges I was facing in the music industry kind of took the fun out of it. And I vowed to never let that happen again. And I realized a lot of what I did. I learned some great philosophies from that. I have this saying that I tell my kids all the time, sometimes you catch a fish and you squeeze the fish so tight that you squeeze it right back into the ocean. It's like, part of enjoying it is being able to let it go, being able to relax, being able to kind of, trust what's for you is for you. People tend to hold on to things a little too tight. And as a result, they taint the experience in a way that makes it difficult to sustain the good moments.
It almost seems like that was a learning experience or a segue, because we talked about how you were told in Hollywood you weren't Black enough. And it seems like that's almost like why you left rap or hip hop. Because it wasn't Black enough for the Black that's right now, or that
it wasn't real enough. You know what I'm saying? Because I wouldn't.
They were trying to say it was real Black,
right?
And then it looks like the same thing happened when you came into acting. Like, I see similar parallels between you and Kevin Hart, and I say that because you're supposed to be the funny guys. You're expected to be the funny actor, just silly, goofy, funny. And then those roles, then you're Black enough. But when you get outside of those roles is when like this magic happens. Like, for example, I like Kevin Hart's stand-up pretty okay. I don't like any of his comedy. It's obnoxious. It drives me nuts. Like his comedy movies. My favorite movie of his is The Upside.
Oh, yep.
I think that's the best work he's ever done. But I can only imagine how few opportunities he gets in Hollywood to be able to do these powerful roles that show these different sides of who we are.
He's got a great show right now. I think it's what's called True Story. He's got a great show right now on Netflix that we just actually started watching. I think that every talent has their skill set. And this includes life coaches, therapists, writers. We have a balance within our skill set. And, it's important to be as authentic as you can and to hone in on your strengths. Because I think that the mistake that a lot of us make is we try to manufacture appeal, right? That's not really what it is. It's really about honing in and servicing the people who can actually relate in a way that's so unique that they can't get rid of you. They can't turn away from you. They connect to a point of view becoming family. And so it's a huge misconception of like, oh, you want to appeal to everyone. But no, a lot of our biggest artists today are really just, reaching a niche that ends up being a larger niche than they could have ever anticipated. There's quite a few people on this planet. I know Elon Musk says we ain't got enough folks yet, but it's quite a few people on this planet. And kind of this ties into what I was saying a little earlier about letting go and just kind of focusing on appealing. That's what I did with LMT. And that's what I did with my crowdfunding campaign for Tijuana Jackson's movie. I just honed in on the people who honed in on me. Treat the people who treated me. I honored the people who honored me. That was it. And it kind of like started a little bit of a swell, and started spreading and spreading and spreading, and it's still spreading. And that's a nice feeling because I've got a significant group of people who really actually get me, and I don't rely on social media to reach those people. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I feel fortunate to be in the position that I'm in, but I also understand that I've inhibited my own growth because of, in business particularly, you know, because of the fact that I failed to be authentic, because of the fact that I failed to, I remember one time Russell Simmons just fell in love with Tijuana Jackson. He sent a message out to every single person at his office, every single person at his organization, and was like, I want y'all to find me Tijuana Jackson. I want y'all to tell me where he is. I want to man crush Monday Tijuana Jackson every single day. And he was like, who the fuck is this nigga? That's what it said in the email, right? So someone who worked at his organization sent that over. So someone who worked at Def Jam sent that over to my manager. You got to see this email that Russ sent out. My manager hits me up and was like, I'm setting up a meeting for y'all. You know what the first thing Russ said to me within 5 minutes of talking?
What's up?
He said, you'd have a much bigger fan base if folks knew how hood you was.
But I mean, it's the thing we've been saying all along.
Yeah, it is. And you know, and like I said, I am telling you this from experience. I am guilty of buying into this concept of things being needed to be packaged a certain way. And it's through Tijuana Jackson that folks have been like, you can't make that up, fam. You can't make that up. What is this? And then I get to actually share real life exchanges with folks. You get what I'm saying? And so my point basically being, going back to what you're saying, is I've inhibited my own progress. And no, I've ran into the obstacle. You're not black enough, you're not this enough, you're not this enough. But I've inhibited my own progress because I spent a period of my life being inauthentic. Coming into the film industry, I didn't honor community. There was just a part of me that just wanted to hide or didn't feel like worthy, or I felt as though maybe I wasn't smart enough or wasn't down enough. And so I would want to hide. And as a result of that, I probably, prevented myself from developing relationships that could have taken me much further. I don't play the game. So, people play the game. I don't bullshit. You treat me like an asshole.
I'm going to treat you accordingly.
No, I really just won't fuck with you. You know what I mean? And you'll call me with another job and I'd be like too toxic. Like literally when people call me for a job, my entire team, my manager's assistants, my agent's assistants, even my attorneys, they have to ask around about the people who are involved in that project's reputation, because it's been established that I will not work with people who are toxic, who don't respect other people. They have this thing in Hollywood where let's be nice to the actors, but we'll treat the PAs like shit. I don't do none of that. And so, as I became more authentic, I began taking these stances in Hollywood. And for all I know, which maybe inhibited my progress, I don't know. I don't care.
Right.
I'm just making the point that the areas that I do know my inauthenticity inhibited my growth. I'm saying to you, whether you're a life coach, whether you're a writer, whether you're an actor, whether you're a director, singer, songwriter, I don't care. Make sure that you figure out a way to be as authentic and as true to you as possible, because you are an existing niche, whether you try to be or not. And the more authentic you are, the more fully expressed you are in that authenticity, the easier it is for people to connect with you and identify themselves in you. And that's what it's about. People in the United States of America live vicariously through their screens.
That's true.
And you want to give them the most authentic experience you possibly can. They live vicariously through their music. Give them the most authentic experience you can. And, we just keep getting convinced that, while everybody's over here, like right now, I see everybody pandering for corporate dollars. You know what? I can't really talk shit. I work for ABC. But when I do my shit, when I do TJ, you saw the Tijuana Jackson movie, I ain't pandering for shit. I'm helping people understand that these are real life problems. These are human beings just like you. And it's important that we establish some level of empathy rather than just writing people off. I grew up around dudes that would get out of prison and their families wouldn't mess with them no more. It'd be me kicking it with them. It'd be me driving them to their girl's house. It'd be me letting them ride my bicycle. You know what I'm saying? It was like, anyway, I could go on and on. Long and short of it is that my self-esteem didn't allow me to be fully expressed earlier on in life. And it's a good thing that I started acting later, because I was a hell of a lot more authentic by the time I got into acting, but still struggling with self-esteem issues and whatnot, self-doubt, and gradually becoming more and more comfortable with it over time. And, I'm confident in entertaining. I'm like arrogantly confident in it when it comes to entertainment. My creativity is probably my superpower. If I had to have a superpower, I would say it was my creativity. If I sit down and create something, in a competition of creators, I've probably convinced myself I'm going to win it before it's even started. But in other areas, maybe in the areas of like intimate relationships, or in the areas of like, maintaining healthy friendships, even, I may not be as secure. I may, my insecurities may kind of overshadow my good attributes. And so over the years, that's what I've had to work on, and even to even get to a point of being able to honor and appreciate the relationship that I have now, and feel like the level of joy and contentment that I feel in the things that I do in my personal life, And the reason that I think that I have this confidence is in entertainment is because it's the one thing that my parents really encouraged me to do. Whether they were together or apart, they always encouraged me to sing for their friends or entertain and, rap for so-and-so. They were always very proud of that. And so that was the one area in which, though my dad might have thought I was stupid, the one area that he thought I was brilliant in was entertainment, And I've talked about it on LMT, my mom was in an abusive relationship with my dad. So she bounced. And as a child, you interpret that as something that has to do with you. I could break down. I could literally break down for you how that just became a domino effect of choices that I made in my life, until I was able to be like, oh shit, I'm responsible for this shit now. Take control of it and begin to honestly deconstruct and reverse engineer my life to be able to figure out how I got to where I was and how I was going to get past it. Still doing it to this day.
It's an evolution.
It's an evolution.
It's an absolute evolution. I can relate to so much of it. I mean, growing up, I'm biracial. And so I was never Black enough.
Yo.
And never white enough. I was called a house nigga all the way through high school. My nickname Queen didn't come as a compliment. It came from Alex Haley's book about his grandmother, who was raised in the big house as a slave and wasn't with the field slaves, because I was considered the house nigga.
Right.
I talked like proper audio. I can relate to every word of it. And it did it. It completely tanked my confidence. It made me extremely, introverted. I didn't speak up in conversations. I'm still coming out of that and speaking up and saying things. It's also why I don't like to do cameras, because I figure I've always kind of been in the corner. I kind of learned to be wallpaper because it kept me from being bullied. So it's all relatable. We all go through it, and people don't realize the facets of being Black and how we don't fit in a box.
And you don't fit in a box. And let me tell you something. It's so funny that you said it. You just made me think of something. I don't know if I should be saying this right now, but I had a phase where I dated a woman for like 7 years. I came out of that relationship, dated another woman for like 9 years off and on, and dated another woman for like a year or two. And my friend said to me, "Oh, you only date mixed girls, huh?" I was like, wait up, I didn't make the connection until he said it. And I was like, no, that's not what it is. No, I date outcasts.
Right.
I date the outcasts. You know what I'm saying? and I was able to go back and like show him like, look, here's so-and-so, here's so-and-so, here's so-and-so, here's so-and-so. And you can see it's all different shades of human beings, but they're all outcasts. You know what I'm saying? They don't fit into the box. Some of them are, dark as my beard. And some of them have as fair as my dad. My dad had really fair skin. These didn't matter. You know what I'm saying? It was like, we're all outcasts. We don't fit into, we've been, and then you have your at-home dynamics to deal with as well, family dynamics to deal with as well, that comes with that. And so I do understand what you are saying. And, it built character for me, especially living in Texas, completing high school in Texas. It built character for me. It made me, it taught me how to detach and not make it my problem. You seeing me as a nigga, or you seeing me as not black enough, and me learning to interpret that as not my issue. And still for a long time wanted that acceptance more than anything. What black man don't want black acceptance? You know what I'm saying? Other than Larry Elder. I mean, what black man don't want black acceptance? And so that being said, I just had to learn to just really be authentic and be true to me and take what that comes with. And sometimes your appeal resonates with 100 million. And sometimes your appeal resonates with 2 or 3 million. But just honor the people that honor you.
And I think that's the point. I am so grateful for you. I'm so grateful to have you as my friend. I'm so glad that you joined me today. It's been so long. And for the record, your team is dope. I got to deal with, your assistant, and I'm not gonna put her name out there because I don't know if she might be in the back cave somewhere.
Giselle.
But, yeah, your team is exceptional to deal with. It was a pleasure. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. And I'm wishing the Dope Souls a really nice launch in 2022. I want to get into talking about techniques that I've learned for growing your presence on platforms that actually matter, and hopefully you and me can just kind of chop it up, share some ideas. You can share some of your insight. I can share what I'm working on. I didn't realize how important it was to have a workflow when you want to do a podcast or you want to do a YouTube channel and all these things. I was just kind of doing it because I get creatively inspired. And it really took all of 2021 for me to really figure out what that workflow would look like and how to make the whole experience scalable, starting first with scale in my life. And thank you so much for being so incredibly supportive of Life Management Tribe and just of me and just of, of my endeavors and, and being so real and like accessible and being so generous and sharing your journey. I had no idea what you had gone through was a sobering reality as you were sharing it, and chronicling it, via LMT. It kind of like really opened my eyes to like what people are dealing with in the world, man. And especially with you, because you were so transparent. And like when you would say you completed a hike and you would show your time on it, it felt like a personal victory. You know what I'm saying? I was like, we did that, and I don't know how else to put it other than that. Just I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for you, and I hope that you experience the best launch in 2022. And I'm just wishing you continued blessings, continue to just fall upon you. And in regards to your health and stuff like that, I think that it's important to remember, man, that stress is a diet, consciously or subconsciously, is part of your diet too. And so we gotta spread it out. You know what I mean? Okay. Well, I love you and thank you.
Thank you. And I love you even more.
Thank you.